Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thursday morning at the Red Barn, aka Tilly the RV. First, I want to say thanks for everybody for reaching out. I did get my Johnson and Johnson COVID shot yesterday at 1:30. So I'm about, I don't know, 18 hours in, I guess, or so, give or take, and feeling really good. Last night it was so bizarre. We got home at around, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock because I had to drive about an hour to get it, which was fine. Shout out to Hartford Healthcare. They did an amazing job. I went to the Xfinity Center in Hartford. Everybody was great. It was incredibly well organized. They had a selfie station. I mean, it was great. It was like Disney. People were waiting in line for a Disney ride. That's how excited people were. So, chatted up a lot of people. Anyway, last night at around 6 o'clock, all of a sudden I just got so tired, but not like in a I feel like shit tired, but almost like this, the drug that they give you, like if you've ever had an operation, like right before you kind of go into the OR. So it's the happy drug before the propofol type stuff. That's how I felt, like almost like this very calm, relaxed, zen, but tired. So took the night, went to bed. I didn't like sleep really well though. I tossed and turned a lot, but woke up this morning. I feel fine. Like my arm isn't even sore. Like everybody talked about how, the arm is really sore. Now they say to give it 48 to 72 hours. I still could have some side effects. I may not be out of the woods, but I am feeling fine today. So J&J, one and done, feeling great. So today's topic is all about fear setting. So it's followed up from my Monday musings about figuring out your true dreams. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to have? And what do you want to be? So, if you've never read The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferris, or watched any of his TED Talks or YouTube things or emails, I encourage you to do so because it's pretty awesome. Like I said last week, I haven't mastered the 4 Hour Work Week yet, but I have adopted a lot of things. For instance, Jen is at Red Barn because of one of Tim Ferriss's theories, which is like you outsource everything that you don't want to do, that doesn't bring you joy, that you're not good at, that you hate, that drags you down. Because if you can pay somebody else to do those things, you can focus your energies and your superpowers on the stuff that you really are great at. And that's how you're going to be more effective, more efficient, and make more money. Anyway, so I am a Tim Ferriss thing. I haven't gotten down to 4 hours a week, obviously, because I keep taking on more projects, but that's a whole other therapy session. So today we're going to talk about the fear setting part of Tim Ferriss's process. So let me just bring it up. So good morning. I'm working hard at the Red Barn today because Jen takes off for a well-deserved and overdue vacation tomorrow. She needs her toes in the water, ass in the sand, and although she doesn't drink beer, she does need some type of alcoholic beverage in her hand. When Jen's away, I'm on a strict lockdown at work because she has put the fear of God in me that she isn't allowed to come home to a shit show. So I'm getting all my Cindy work done this week. And sidebar, that is true. Like I have websites to launch, like a lot needs to happen in the next day and a half. So Monday I went through Tim Ferriss's dreamlining exercise with you. If you missed it, you can grab it on my YouTube channel. So that's youtube.com/Cindy Donaldson. I record all of these videos there so you can get them. One of the main reasons people don't see the fruition of their dreams is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of themselves, yada, yada, yada. Tim suggests grabbing the bull by the horns and actually addressing your fears with fear setting. So how to face fear. Below I'll list Tim's 7 steps, paraphrased of course, because I haven't, another sidebar, I haven't read this book in years. I have it queued up on my Kindle to when I finish Outwitting the Devil. But if you didn't watch my Monday email, we actually did this whole process in a network marketing mastermind group that I have with Isagenix once a week. So gentleman on my team, Tyler Walter, actually reminded us about Tim's stuff. So I have to really give the shout out to Tyler. But here we go. I'm going to use my sabbatical to the Middle East and beyond as an example for this. So beyond telling you what to do, I'm going to share with you the actual process I went through. So one is define your nightmare. What is the worst case scenario? So what is the worst thing that could happen if you jumped off the bridge, took the leap, and went for your dreams? My worst case scenario is that I begin my journey in Israel and there is some kind of political strife that prevents me from traveling onward. I'm there, I run out of money, I get sick, the list goes on. I'm far away from family and friends in a country I really don't know. So that is the reality. I mean, not that, ooh, sorry, not that there isn't a lot of crap happening here, but it is the Middle East and it's just a different world there. So that is a fear, I mean, I'm going off for like 4 to 6 months, so a lot could go wrong. But number two, if that nightmare happened, what steps would you take to mitigate the shitstorm? Tim doesn't use that, but that's how I'm thinking about it. So seriously, I want you to conjure up the nightmare, that worst case scenario, and how would you react to the situation? So for me, I would reach out to some of my connections that I know in Israel and lean on them for guidance. I know people who know people. So that is also part of my prep going down there, right? So I literally go through this process in my head when I'm doing like something big. So worst case scenario, what would I do if the shit really did hit the fan? So for me, I am now reaching out and I'm helping someone who's been to Israel. I'm working with someone who's been to Israel multiple times, and she is helping guiding me on what to do, what not to do. And if that worst case scenario happens, what do I do? Number three, now look at the probable situation. Oftentimes, and I am really guilty of this sometimes, I'll go down the rabbit hole because I have a very vivid imagination. I'll go down the rabbit hole of, oh my God, what's the worst case scenario? Da, 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 da. And I have to back up and say, okay, what's the probable scenario? This happened a lot with the COVID shots, and I don't care what side of the fence you're on with this, but a lot of people focused on, oh my God, like, the worst case scenario with the COVID shot. What's the probable one? You have a sore arm, you might be tired for a couple of days. That's the probable situation. So what does that look like? What is the outcome, and where is the silver lining? Okay, so this is the important part of it. So when you look at the probable situation, not the worst case, but what could really happen? Where's the sunshine in all of it? The silver lining for me, if that should happen when I'm in Israel, is that I'm truly living like a local, right? I'm experiencing everyday life because the people that live in Israel, this is their reality. So that's my sunshine. Number four, if I lost everything today, what would I do to get it under control? For me, this is easy because it actually happened to me. I'm resourceful, I'll figure it out. I can make a buck in a million ways and I'll be okay. But for those of you that haven't lost everything before, this is something that is really scary, especially if you're thinking of like leaving your job and going out on your own. I spend a lot of time coaching people who want to like launch their own businesses because this is probably the number one fear. What if I screw it up? What if I lose everything? In the end, it's just money. And I know some of you who um, are kind of risk averse with this. This is a hard one to swallow, but money is simply an exchange. Like, you give somebody money, they give you something in return. That's all it is. It isn't some magical thing. And I'm saying like, there's nothing bad with having a lot of money, but you just need to learn how to be resourceful. So when everything fell apart with me, this isn't in the email, it's a sidebar, but when everything fell apart, I literally did lose everything. I lost my house, my car, and I had a credit score of like 300. So I really couldn't get much worse because I was sort of in that rock bottom thing, and I had two children. I was a single mom. I had to feed us. I had to get a roof over my head. So I got resourceful, right? And nothing lasts forever, right? You can either, and this is kind of what I've talked about, last week, you can't be a victim in those situations, right? So it happened, you have to deal with the situation, and then you have to mobilize and figure out what you actually need versus what you want at that point, and then you'll be fine. You will be fine. You just have to pull it together. So for me, I know that I'll be okay because I've already done that before, which kind of goes back to what I'm talking about in our Thursday club this month, which is about resiliency. So when you've gone through something like that, you become resilient. You know that if it happens again, although yes, it would be shitty, like I don't want to lose everything again, but if it happened, I know I'll be okay. So number 5, what am I putting off right now because of fears? So, again, if you think about like that, go back to the dream lining exercise that we did on Monday. Again, sidebar, not in the email. If you go back, you think about those things that are on your list or things that you've always wanted to do. So for me, it's, this travel to the Middle East and beyond has been on my list forever. I put it off because of people telling me it's not safe, that I will make some cultural faux pas and be arrested. Not so much in Israel, obviously, but in the Muslim countries. And I got sucked into that fear. In fact, I had an opportunity to, I remember, and I'll never forget this, like right after I got out of college, my mother was quite ill at the time. I mean, she was dying. She passed away about a year after that. But my roommate from college and a friend were going to bop around Europe that summer. And I remember there was something that happened over there, and my mother was just like, you can't go. Again, and so I let that fear happen. I couldn't fix my mother's situation at that point. Obviously, and I know this sounds a little crass, but she was well taken care of, and I just mentally needed a break. But I let the whole fear of that happen. And then the same with the Middle East. Like people are just like, oh, it's, you can't go, it's dangerous. And I'm not doing that anymore. So I have put that off forever, and I'm not anymore. So number 6, this is a really big one. I mean, they're all big, but this is a big one. What is it costing me right now, emotionally, physically, financially, because I'm not doing what's on my dream lining lists? Okay. So, you know, often people will not spend $300 to make, $10,000, right? Or they're not going to take a risk and put themselves out there and be vulnerable in order to get what they want. So, the old saying goes, like, if you want something to change, you have to change, right? So what is that costing you, your resistance to not changing? So for me, um, sorry, I lost my spot. So for me, I'm not living my true self. I'm longing to go here, and I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. So why wait? I preach this all the time, yet this is the one thing I haven't done. So, again, I let certain fears, or also it's a big chunk of time. Like I am literally leaving my family, leaving my friends. I'm going to have to rent out the RV. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen, and it can get overwhelming. But I was trying to eat the whole elephant at once, right? So instead of just taking tiny bits, and I wasn't relying on the expertise of other people. So I'm taking my own advice, and I'm doing it. So number 7, when you go through this exercise, the exercise is really meant to make you think. So it goes through the process of your worst nightmare. Then what's the probable thing? Then what if you really did lose everything? And then what are you putting off, and what is it costing you? And the last question is, what am I waiting for? And my answer is, I'm not. So that's the fear setting exercise of Tim Ferris, and it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So I encourage you to go through it, and you really need to write it down. So don't just say it in your head. I mean, I am a slave to my iPad, and if you don't have the notability, this is, and I don't get paid for this, but if you are an iPad user or a tablet, I'm assuming it works on non-product, just the app Notability, and I have to thank Dave because he's the one who told me about it. But I am a writer, so the Notability app allows me to write things down. I save them in different buckets, and it's wonderful. So write those things down. So I have my dream lining exercise, and then right below it, I did the fear setting. And now, once you get through the dream lining and the fear setting, you realize that you've been wasting time because your head has allowed you to fear things that you don't even know would really happen. And the fact is, the worst case scenarios rarely, I mean, rarely happen. And if they did, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine because you'll figure it out. You'll empower yourself, and you'll figure it out. So that's my Thursday. I'm excited that I'm feeling pretty good post COVID shot. So I'm kind of hoping it stays that way, because Dave and I have a lot of work to do in the reno house. He came in this morning. He's like, we've got to get everything sanded because we have to return the sander. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Thursday already. So that's what I'm going to be doing. sanding floors. And but it's all coming together. It's all coming together. I'm pretty excited. Have an awesome day, and we will see you on Monday. Bye.